At first, the Kalenjin warriors held their ground, fighting bravely under the leadership of Chepkorir and Olembo. But then, in the heat of battle, the Sukuma army began to overwhelm them. Chepkorir's forces started to retreat, and Olembo, seeing the retreating warriors, believed that Chepkorir had abandoned him. Confused and heartbroken, Olembo watched as his army began to falter. In that moment of despair, the tide of the battle turned in favor of the Sukuma warriors. Mayunga seized the opportunity and pressed forward, driving the Kalenjin forces into retreat. Olembo, feeling very sad and hurt, left the battlefield and went back to the village. He had been badly hurt because he had fought bravely until the very end. When he got to the village, he felt even worse, thinking that Chepkorir had betrayed him. Feeling hopeless, Olembo made a sad decision. He thought everything was over and wanted to end his life. With shaky hands, he picked up his spear and pointed it at his own chest, ready to hurt himself. In the heart of the Kerio Valley, the land of the Kalenjin people, a powerful queen named Chepkorir sat on her wooden throne. Her kingdom was prosperous, known for its fertile lands, cattle, and great warriors. Yet a shadow of unease loomed over the land. The great Sukuma Empire of Tanzania, known for its relentless expansion, had been conquering neighboring kingdoms with formidable force. Their empire was growing rapidly, and its borders were edging dangerously close to Chepkorir's realm. The constant threat of invasion and the prospect of their lands falling under Sukuma control weighed heavily on Chepkorir's shoulders. Word soon reached Chepkorir that one of the greatest Sukuma warriors, Olembo, had arrived in her land. Olembo was a fearless fighter. His name whispered across the villages of Tanzania and beyond. Being a respected warrior and strategist, Olembo had been chosen to visit the Kalenjin lands under the pretense of strengthening diplomatic ties and exploring possibilities for trade. However, hidden beneath his mission was a deeper agenda. The Sukuma leaders, particularly the ambitious chieftain Mayunga, wanted to gather intelligence on the Kalenjin's military strength, strategic locations, and resources. As she prepared to meet Olembo, Chepkorir was filled with apprehension. The meeting was shrouded in uncertainty. Was Olembo truly here to negotiate peace, or was there another agenda beneath his diplomatic facade? As the day of their meeting approached, Chepkorir's concern for her people and her kingdom's safety grew. The delicate balance between hope and fear made the prospect of meeting Olembo all the more tense. Little did she know that this meeting would not only determine the fate of her kingdom, but would also ignite a love affair that would challenge both their worlds. Chepkorir decided to meet him, not as an ordinary queen, but as a divine figure blessed by the gods of her people. She wanted Olembo to see her as more than just a ruler. She wanted him to recognize her as a force beyond human strength. She arranged a grand entrance for herself, arriving in a procession of dancers and drummers, her garments flowing like the winds over the hills. She adorned herself in vibrant beads and ornaments made of gold and ivory. The air was filled with the sweet scent of incense and spices. When Olembo saw Chepkorir, he was left speechless. He had never witnessed such magnificence in his life, and from that moment, Chepkorir had captured his attention and his heart. They met in Chepkorir's grand hut, where a feast had been prepared. The hall was filled with roasted meats, fruits from the valley, and honey drinks served in decorated calabashes. The music of the Kalenjin lyre, the Sambauta, filled the air softly as Chepkorir spoke with confidence, her laughter ringing like music. Olembo, drawn to her wisdom and grace, found himself entranced. He had met many women in his life, but none like Chepkorir. As days turned into weeks, Chepkorir and Olembo spent more time together, exploring the beauty of the land. Chepkorir showed Olembo the rolling hills, the waterfalls, and the sacred mountains of her people. They spoke of the spirits of the ancestors, of traditions, and the future of their lands. Olembo was deeply captivated by Chepkorir's intelligence, while she admired his bravery and loyalty. They began to fall in love, and their bond grew strong. But danger loomed over them, unseen at first. Blinded by his deepening love for Queen Chepkorir, Olembo began to lose sight of his original mission. What had started as a diplomatic visit and covert intelligence gathering for the Sukuma Empire slowly became a personal journey. Clouded by the affection he felt for Chepkorir, his heart was now firmly intertwined with hers, and he found himself forgetting the true purpose of his presence in the Kalenjin lands. Unbeknownst to Olembo, his relationship with Chepkorir had caught the attention of the powerful Sukuma chieftain Mayunga. Driven by his own ambitions to expand his control and consolidate power, Mayunga saw Olembo's growing affection for Chepkorir as a significant threat. To Mayunga, Olembo's newfound loyalty to the Kalenjin queen was not just a personal betrayal but a potential obstacle to his plans of conquest. Mayunga, seeking to undermine Olembo and solidify his own position, began spreading malicious rumors throughout the Sukuma Empire. He claimed that Olembo had been bewitched by Chepkorir, accusing him of turning his back on his own people and succumbing to dark enchantments. The rumors painted Olembo as a traitor and a fool, swaying public opinion and stirring unrest among the Sukuma warriors. As Mayunga's whispers took hold, the growing suspicion and hostility created a volatile environment, setting the stage for a dramatic conflict that neither Olembo nor Chepkorir had anticipated. The love that had blossomed between them now faced its ultimate test, caught in the crossfire of political intrigue and personal betrayal. Chepkorir and Olembo, unaware of Mayunga's scheming, continued to enjoy their time together. They would visit the sacred grounds of the Kalenjin people, where elders blessed their union. Chepkorir took Olembo to the highlands, where they would watch the sunset, discussing their dreams of uniting their peoples and building a future together. But the peace was not to last. Olembo received word that Mayunga was rallying the Sukuma warriors against him, claiming that Olembo had abandoned his duty. Mayunga sought to bring war to Chepkorir's land. Olembo, torn between his love for Chepkorir and his loyalty to his people, knew that he had to return to Tanzania to confront Mayunga. Before he left, Chepkorir gave him a bracelet made of cowrie shells, a symbol of her love and protection. "Wear this always," she whispered, "and remember that my heart is with you." Olembo promised to return. Back in Tanzania, Olembo found himself in the midst of a political storm. Mayunga had turned many of the warriors and elders against him, claiming that Olembo had been bewitched by the Kalenjin queen. The whispers grew louder, and Olembo found himself fighting not only for his honor but for his life. Meanwhile, Chepkorir, back in Kerio Valley, felt the distance between them. She sent messengers to Olembo, but they returned with no good news. The tension between the Kalenjin and the Sukuma grew, and Chepkorir knew that a storm was coming. Olembo, trapped by duty, could not return to her, though his heart longed to be by her side. Finally, Mayunga made his move. He convinced the Sukuma elders to declare war, claiming that Chepkorir had bewitched Olembo and stolen him from his people. Olembo, torn between loyalty and love, made his decision. He could not betray Chepkorir. He chose to return to her and fight by her side, even if it meant turning against his people. Olembo left Tanzania and made his way back to the hills of Kerio Valley, where Chepkorir welcomed him with open arms. The drums of war began to beat as the Sukuma warriors marched towards the Kalenjin lands. Chepkorir and Olembo prepared their people for the coming battle. Chepkorir gathered the warriors from the villages, while Olembo trained them in the art of war. On the day of the great battle, the sun rose over the valley, casting long shadows on the land. The Sukuma army, led by Mayunga, faced the Kalenjin warriors led by Chepkorir and Olembo. The battle raged from morning until the sun began to set. The clash of spears and shields echoed across the valley, and the ground shook with the sounds of war. At first, the Kalenjin warriors held their ground, fighting bravely under the leadership of Chepkorir and Olembo. But then, in the heat of battle, the Sukuma army began to overwhelm them. Chepkorir's forces started to retreat, and Olembo, seeing the retreating warriors, believed that Chepkorir had abandoned him. Confused and heartbroken, Olembo watched as his army began to falter. In that moment of despair, the tide of the battle turned in favor of the Sukuma warriors. Mayunga seized the opportunity and pressed forward, driving the Kalenjin forces into retreat. Olembo, feeling very sad and hurt, left the battlefield and went back to the village. He had been badly hurt because he had fought bravely until the very end. When he got to the village, he felt even worse, thinking that Chepkorir had betrayed him. Feeling hopeless, Olembo made a sad decision. He thought everything was over and wanted to end his life. With shaky hands, he picked up his spear and pointed it at his own chest, ready to hurt himself. But just as he was about to strike, one of Chepkorir's loyal servants rushed into the room. "Olembo, no!" the servant cried. "The queen did not abandon you. She was told that you had fallen in battle and fled only to protect her people." On hearing this, Olembo's heart filled with regret. He had misunderstood Chepkorir's action. She had not abandoned him. She had tried to protect him. Weak and wounded, Olembo ordered his men to take him to Chepkorir. When Olembo arrived at Chepkorir's hut, he was barely alive. Chepkorir, seeing him in such a state, rushed to his side, tears streaming down her face. "I never meant to leave you," she whispered. "I thought you were lost, and I couldn't bear it." Olembo, his voice barely audible, replied, "I would rather die by your side than live without you." With those final words, Olembo took his last breath, and Chepkorir's heart shattered. Chepkorir, filled with unbearable sorrow, sat beside Olembo's lifeless body. Her heart ached, not just for the man she loved, but for the dreams they had shared. The great warrior was gone, and the once hopeful future for uniting their people seemed impossible now. Outside the hut, the sounds of war had faded, replaced by an eerie silence. The Kalenjin warriors had retreated, and the Mayunga's Sukuma forces were marching toward the village, ready to claim victory. But Chepkorir, the proud and strong queen of the Kalenjin, refused to be taken as prisoner by the Sukuma. She would not allow herself to be paraded through the Sukuma villages as a trophy of war. Her dignity and the legacy of her people meant more to her than anything. Chepkorir called upon her most trusted servant, a man who had stood by her through the many trials of her reign. "Bring me the calabash," she commanded softly. The servant's eyes widened in understanding. He left the hut swiftly, returning with a small, beautifully carved calabash that held a deadly poison made from the roots of sacred plants known only to the Kalenjin healers. It was a secret potion that Chepkorir had kept hidden, only to be used in the gravest of moments. As she held the calabash in her hands, Chepkorir thought of the life she had lived, the challenges she had faced, the love she had found in Olembo, and the sacrifices she had made for her people. Her heart was heavy with loss, but she knew that this was her final moment. She will not let Mayunga or the Sukuma take everything from her. Chepkorir looked at Olembo's body one last time, her tears falling onto his chest. "I will join you soon, my love," she whispered. She lifted the calabash to her lips and drank the bitter liquid inside. Almost immediately, a burning sensation spread through her body. But Chepkorir remained calm, her mind focused on reuniting with Olembo in the spirit world. Lying back on the soft skins that lined her heart, Chepkorir's breathing slowed and she closed her eyes. In her final moments, she imagined herself walking through the green hills of Kerio Valley, hand in hand with Olembo, laughing and free from the burdens of their kingdoms. She could hear the wind singing through the acacia trees, and she knew that soon she will be with him again. As the sun began to set over the valley, Chepkorir, the proud queen of the Kalenjin, took her last breath. Her servants found her the next morning, lying peacefully beside Olembo, her face calm and serene, as if she had simply fallen into a deep sleep. Word of her death spread quickly, reaching Mayunga, who had been preparing to storm the village. When Mayunga heard the news, he felt a strange mix of triumph and respect. Though Chepkorir had been his enemy, he could not deny her strength and the love she had shared with Olembo. He ordered that their bodies be buried together, side by side in the secret grounds of the Kalenjin people, where the ancestors would watch over them for eternity. The story of Chepkorir and Olembo, the queen and the warrior who defied empires for love, spread throughout the lands of Kenya and Tanzania. For generations, elders will tell their tale, reminding the people of the Kalenjin and the Sukuma tribes that even in times of war, love could not be conquered. Their love, though tragic, became a legend, passed down through songs and stories. It was a tale of passion, sacrifice, and courage, a reminder that in the face of impossible odds, love could still shine brightly. Chepkorir and Olembo's legacy lived on, forever immortalized in the hearts of their people. And so, the great queen and her warrior found peace, not in the kingdoms they once ruled, but in each other, united for all time in the spirit world, where no war could ever tear them apart again. Well, that is it for now. We'll be seeing you soon with more stories. Remember to like, share, and subscribe. And tell a friend to tell a friend. And of course, it is I, your narrator, Dave Humble. Bye.